All right, this is part of our contour series. Again, I'm working with a pencil, and we're going to take a look at two different vegetables here. We got a pepper and an onion. And for this exercise, I suggest that you think about what you're choosing to use. So with a cross contour, think about it almost like if you remember an older globe from being in school of the Earth. I might be dating myself. Or a picture of the globe on Google Earth as we move around. And we think about the equator, coming around this Earth. So that in my mind, is the latitude, or as I like to say, the horizontal line that's wrapping around the Earth. Up here I'm drawing in the longitude, which are the lines that go up and down, sort of dissecting the Earth, or as I like to think of them, simply our vertical lines. Think of a wireframe, think of a 3D modeling perhaps, and animation, and that'll give you a good concept. And I think it's important what items you choose to draw. I've chosen a onion because the onion already gives me these lines in the skin, so it makes it a little bit easier. And I've chosen a pepper because I think it's a good vegetable to show the longitude and latitude, or the vertical or horizontal lines, because of the form of it. So we'll sketch both these in. Now, I'm going to start with this pepper, and I'm going to kind of start sketching this in, maybe thinking a little bit of gestural at first, but then I'm really going straight into the concept of working almost with a structural form, laying in this overall circle or oval or ellipse kind of shape. Always define the shape in your mind's eye. It'll help you, right, as you're drawing it. What does it look like? All right. And there's this little tuft of stem here that kind of comes out. I'll sketch that in. And all right, so at least right now I've got, there's a nice little, and we've got a nice shadow shape. I'll go ahead and sketch that in as well up under here. So now I've gained a little bit of confidence. I have enough information down that I feel a little more comfortable coming into my contour. So there's not a whole lot of difference in this contour based on some of our other contours, except for we'll be working on that vertical or horizontal, or if you like to think about it as that sort of longitudinal or latitudinal line that's coming across this form. So again, always sticking with the contour. I see this little tuft coming out. I'll hint at that. You see me change my pencil. I'm going for a harder and wider line through here. Working on a little more detail here. Detail can be really fun to work on. If you're the type of artist or personality that really enjoys detail, then take the time and work on it. If you're more interested in the whole as an artist or the bigger picture, then simplify your detail. Get it down and move on. So that's a personality issue within artists. But again, you're here to practice, so I recommend whichever way you prefer, to go outside your comfort zone and practice daily on pushing yourself. Some very light action in here I will hint at. And I'll get off that and back into the main part of our onion. So we'll start with these longitudinal lines or vertical lines. Now our onion, note that it's at an axis. It has, the overall angle of it, is this way. Okay, it's sort of shooting off in that direction. If we were to draw the back end through this, like structurally, sort of the base would be kind of through here, and it'd come through this way. But the nice thing about this is it already has these lines for us, so it's doing a part of our job. So we come across and think about the speed of the curve, how full this is. The widest point of this is kind of right around in through here. As I come down, it's right around in this region as these lines push out. So I'm merely using the lines of the onion to demonstrate to you, the viewer, the concept of this, cross contour. And a lot of artists will also do a cross contour with just choosing one. They'll either do the longitude or the latitude, or as I like to say, the vertical or horizontal. There's nothing wrong with picking one. So I'm not copying these actual, I guess you would say, veins that are coming through the skin. I'm just using them as reference to add my own lines. They're showing me the form and part of this sort of, we could say, kind of wire-like or 3D wire-like framework that we're working with. So I'm really trying to round that out right as it comes to the bottom, and it does. It sinks in quickly. There's a fairly fast curvature throughout this, onion. If I sort of draw a schematic of it up here, again, this is the widest point, so this sort of through here kind of is the quickest part of the curve. It turns, the quickest right through here, the widest point. You see me sketch the line in, before I establish it with a little bit of weight or, pushing down on it harder. And right through here, there'll be a point where there's a change in direction as this comes around, on the other side of this axis that we have established. Okay, you'll see that this shifts over and it starts to have we have a curvature in this direction, and at some point we shift over and we start to have that curvature, you know, in the other direction, you know, with our onion. That dips in quite rapidly right there. So take note. And again, as this pushes away from me, I'm going to have a much lighter line. And here's, you know, the closest part of us. I'll have that in a little bit sharper, and then I'll just let that line fade in. Again, trying to show the viewer how that pushes back in space. And we start pushing back here. I'll change the way I'm holding my pencil a little bit to help me out. And this dives in quite a bit. There's a quick turn there, and this is a lot more flatter on top of this onion as it comes around. I'll sketch in some more of these. About right here, we start to lose the back end as it comes up. I suggest doing a lot of these drawings with some sort of pen or pencil or Conte, something a little bit sharper. You can certainly do it with charcoal, but I find for a beginning student working with charcoal may be a little bit difficult on this. And again, I'm going to make sure that these in the back stay nice and soft. Make sure that they live back there in the back. And I will come back and sort of reestablish and build up some of these lines through the middle that are closer to me. You got to remember, you know, this thing is essentially, you know, wrapping around in space. It is undulating up and over and around. All right. So now we have to sort of work on the ellipse that we kind of talked about at one point. And right through here is sort of the widest point, and we'll come across. And that really is coming around. We lose that edge, it pulls through. So you can sort of think of it this way. I'll simplify this, and we'll have this, you know, onion over here. Is think about some of these lines as if you've literally cut the top of the onion off, and now we're sort of, you know, exposed to the inside, or if you want to, you can sort of think of a grapefruit. Like I've chopped it off as if the other half has been pulled forward, and here's our stem, and we've opened it up. So I'm always thinking about that kind of concept when I'm drawing this. You know, and unlike structural drawing, I'm not going all the way through. Again, I'm just really trying to give you a wire frame. Constantly look at the object, more so than you're looking at your paper and your drawing. Keep looking back. What's it doing? How fat is it? How wide is it? You know, how quick is that curve or that angle. Okay. And I'll open these up a little bit as this comes, and so as we come up, we see more of the top, so we get more of the, a little more of the ellipse as it comes around. And I'm going to try to draw lighter as I move up, because again, this is further away. Can't say it enough. Think, think, think. Don't just draw. Think. What am I doing and why am I doing it? What am I accomplished by doing this? Okay? And I'll come in for drawing's sake and kind of reestablish maybe a little bit of shade on this stem, just something to sort of separate it. I don't feel like doing it's necessary to do a cross contour on any of that kind of thing. And I will just throw in a quick little shadow just so it looks nice for us. Touch up a few things, and I feel like for demonstration purposes that we've done a pretty solid example of coming around and thinking about cross contour. Again, some artists will pick or choose if they want to do the longitudinal or latitudinal or horizontal and vertical lines or both. I think this is a great exercise to work on, and it really pushes your eye-hand coordination and makes your brain concentrate on, what is the form. So we're going to take a look at this right over here using the pepper just to show you another example. Our pepper isn't quite coming at us with, as nice of lines as the onion does. So I feel like the onion, kind of aided us a little bit with that. So look for a piece of vegetable or fruit that might do that for you. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we can mark up a vegetable, or there's some different techniques we can use if you're having problems, or if you're struggling with this concept. So let's move right over here. We're just doing the same thing. We're just looking at a different object. And I'm going to come in and sort of sketch this in. So drawing lightly, I'm thinking of what's my width to my height ratio, sketching it in. Keep it light, keep it light. And when we keep a light like this, and you just ghost in, you really rarely have to bother with erasing. And have the confidence to leave the line down. And again, these are training examples. We're drawing for the sake of learning how to draw better in other methods. Though you can choose to concentrate on this as an artist, but these are mostly for exercises. You see that I've drawn through the stem. Make sure things connect. Always think about drawing through. I'll repeat myself often in these videos, and I think that shows the importance of some of these basic fundamentals. And I'll hint in at a little bit of a shadow while we're here. So now that I've established a sketch, that gives me the confidence to sort of push on and start, making some lines that are definitely going to be there. These are the lines that are going to establish the drawing. Thinking. What's closest to me? What's closest to you, the viewer, the artist? Okay. What's further away? Right, this is the front, this is the back. Always thinking. Undulation. What form is either cutting across and over another form? This form shoots behind, this one comes across. These two kind of meet up on the same playing field, so to speak. This one cuts over that one, this one behind, that one. So I want to draw those lighter as I establish this. This part of the stem or the root of the stem sort of barely undulates over that main trunk. This shoots over. And there's almost this back part that even connects. So look at this and study it. Try to find these little details. This certainly folds over and wraps around, and this comes behind and shoots up under. Comes around. So our pepper is giving us a little bit of the understanding. We're working on this vertical aspect. It comes down and connects. I'm going to make a decision, and an artist might go either way. I'm going to choose to say that this form just barely undulates over that form. That's a decision that I had to make. I certainly could have gone the other direction and said this one undulates over that one, but that's just one of those decisions that I'm making as an artist, where I'm establishing and sort of shifting and saying, well, that's the one I'm going to choose. This pushes out quite a bit, it sinks in, connects through here. There's a little more tension up at the top as these, we could say, shoot out or blossom out of this stem system. All right. Very lightly drawing the concept of some of those. Again, thinking, particularly, here, through here, through here, that is something that essentially it's coming up, right? And think of it as like a ribbon. I'm going to draw an arrow here. And literally shoots back around. Okay. I'll do a little shading in here for you to make sure you understand what I'm saying. It's an arrow that's turning, shooting back, over, and around. So same with these up front. They're coming up from behind and curling over, shooting around and diving down. Okay? Don't just draw, think. All right? Now, with coming across with our cross contour, think of, again, let's take this pepper, let's look at it straight down. I'll do a little diagram here. So if I'm up at top and I'm in a bird's eye view, or I'm floating around in a helicopter, we could say that there's sort of this pepper shape that looks like that. Out of it, we look up top, there's sort of a stem shape, and we have our stem coming out. So think of coming in, with a knife and literally just chopping that off. So we just chop this off and sort of think about this becoming a flat, or like we could see the seeds in here. So think of it like I've just chopped off the top. We're very interested in this line wrapping around, and think every time we chop it, as we move down, we're going to get smaller and smaller. That ring, is getting tighter and tighter. And constantly think of the fact that this is, undulating. It is round. It is moving. Again, these are not only diving in, this direction, right? Longitude and latitude, all right? But they're coming around, okay, both ways. All right, so this is shooting back and around. I've got to show the overall curvature, right? And this comes through. And I'm going to leave this very light right here, and then it wraps around and gets considerably darker. And again, with this, if you're having trouble, just barely sketch it in, and then stop and take a look at it and say, is it the way I want it? And if so, push on. Really, that curve really pushes out, I feel like, quite a bit right through here. I mean, that is really, again, if I think of it from a bird's eye view, man, this is really curved to me. All right, very, very curved down here. It pretty much ducks back, almost behind a little bit, and then comes out. And I'm exaggerating a little bit. That's a fairly deep crevice right there. Turns around, and immediately this has a really nice roundness to it as well. We'll do another one up here. Again, this is a little bit different. It pushes out to me quite a bit right here and then folds back and sort of flattens out along with this. Pushing out to me the wide point right through here. And it kind of links in. There's not a big jump right here. And I'll come into the background and think, is this pushing out? Is it pushing in? And there is definitely sort of this pushing out. And I'll keep that very light because it's in the background. Again, that's pushing out as we come across, and it dives into. And then I'll come in and let's even touch base and think about that same concept. I'll draw very lightly up through this stem. And how, again, I'll look straight down at the stem and think if I were to chop off that part right there. My question is it oval if I look straight down, or is it more round? Does it go more fat on one end and come in a little bit more? That's going to change, right? The contour and how it's drawn. That's going to change the contour and how we draw it. So again, I always think about that knife, cutting in and slicing in, and what's it look like straight down? How curved is that? The speed of this curve over here is much slower than, look how quick the speed of that curve is. Okay? And we will hint a little bit at this stem. As it comes around, I feel like the tightest part is here and that it has a wideness. My thought is it's a little bit more like that. And I guess we could argue that it's sort of an undulation of all three. This is more rounded at the top and flattens out a little bit differently as this turns through space. The stem fattens out right here. It's up to you, the artist. How many of these vertical and horizontal lines are you going to, I don't feel the need to put another one. Are you going to put in these, latitudinal, longitudinal lines? And I think this serves its purpose. We could come in here and add and keep adding and keep building a tighter and tighter wire frame. And I encourage you to do that. Again, I'll throw in a shadow just to make it look a little nicer. And I can't stress enough how this is a great exercise, okay? An exercise to help you in the understanding of form, all right? To help you in that pursuit of, hey, I'm not just copying this, I understand it. And the great thing about that, and we'll talk about this more, is when you understand it, you can do a still life or a setup and you can draw it. You can manipulate it, change a little bit more to what you want, and then also you get into being able to do drawings right out of your head that essentially look like you're looking at an object, which can be a really powerful tool. So I just can't encourage you enough to use these things on a daily basis, and to keep concentrating and to keep pushing your abilities. And again, patience. Don't draw this one time. Draw it 10, draw it 20, draw it 30 and 40. And I guarantee you, if you stop and you think, and you draw and you look, it will get better and better, and your abilities are just going to skyrocket as you move out through this course.